Lesson 25, I will decompose and compose fractions greater than 1 to express them in various forms. So beginning in lesson 24, we were talking about how you could convert improper fractions to mixed numbers. So for example, yesterday or in the last lesson, we were saying if we had 16 thirds, we were saying that this is the same as 5 and 1/3. And today we're just going to continue on that, but we're also going to go from mixed numbers to improper fractions. So go ahead and get your math journal. We're going to do just a little bit in here today. So make sure that you write today's date and lesson 25, decompose and compose fractions greater than 1. Okay, so in your journal today, I want you to draw this number bond right here. We're going to start with this mixed number, 2 and 1/6. So go ahead and draw this number bond. And we're going to divide this into two parts. We're going to divide it into how many parts we can make into a whole and then what's left over. So if you think about sixes for just a minute, and you think to yourself, well, it takes 6 sixes to make a whole, and if you've got 2 wholes, then that would be 12 sixes. So that's what we're going to put right here in this number bond, 12 sixes, and then you would have 1/6 left over. So if you added these together, that will give you this improper fraction of 13 sixes. So this is kind of the strategy that we're going to use to go from this mixed number to an improper fraction. Okay, so I want you to draw this number line, and I want you to label it from 0, 1, 2, and 3. And you can see that this number line has been decomposed into sixes. I want you to do that too. I don't care if you use little dots like this or if you use the little marks that we normally use, but I want you to go ahead and break this down into sixes. So you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts in every one. You don't have to come through here and write what they are, but I do want you to put the little marks. All right, so if I'm going from 0 to 6, just like this, how many sixes are there from 0 to 1? There would be 6 sixes. And if I went from 1 to 2, how many sixes would there be? There would be 6 more. And then if I went from 2 to 1/6, that would be 1/6. So this is how you would illustrate an improper fraction to a mixed number on a number line. You can see from 0 to 1, that's 6 sixes. From 1 to 2, that's 6 sixes. And from 2 to 1/6, that's one more 1/6. If we added all these together, we would get 13 sixes. So we'll be using this strategy a little bit today on our problem set. So let's go ahead and go to your problem set, put your name on there, and then let's take a look at the directions. Convert each mixed number to a fraction greater than 1. Draw a number line to model your work. So that's what we just did in our math journals. So you can see that they did the first one for us. Now how this one's a little bit different than what we did in our journals. In our journal, we would have went 4/4, 4/4, 4/4, and they just made this big jump and said 12/4. Either way is okay. It just depends on which one makes the most sense to you. And then you can see they have 3 plus 1/4. They just separated the whole number from the fraction. And then they said, well, 3 is the same thing as 12/4, and we add it together, you get 13/4. So let's see what we can do with this 2 and 4/5. So let's start with our number line. And we're going to need to make our number line go from 0 to 3, since we know it has to at least go to 2 because we have 2 and 4/5, and it goes 4/5 past 2. So let's just go ahead and make it from 0 to 3. So I'm going to go just label the whole numbers right now. So I've got 1, 2, and 3. Now since we're talking about fifths, we're going to break each of these wholes down into 5 parts. So that's going to take 4 lines. Now I'm not going to label them, I'm just going to mark them. Okay, so you can see if I go from 0 to 1, how many fifths would that be? That would be 5 fifths, right? So let's just say if I went from 0 to 2, that would be 5 fifths from 0 to 1, 5 fifths from 1 to 2, so that would be 10 fifths. And then from 2 to 2 and 4/5 would be 4 more fifths. So I'm going to kind of cut a little bit out of this number sentence that they used, and I'm actually going to write mine over here. Well, let's write it down here. So we've got 2 and 4/5, And I'm going to say that equals 10/5 plus 4/5 equals 14/5. So you can see I took out the step that they had 2 plus 4/5 equals 10/5 plus 4/5. I don't think we need to put that step in there. All right, so let's try C. Okay, so let's draw our number line. So it says 3 5/8. So that means that we need to go from 0 to 4. And since we're talking about eighths, that means that we need to take each of these wholes and divide them into 8 parts. So when I do that many parts, I like to go with fourths and then divide them in half. That way they're a little bit more even. So I'm going to divide this in half and then into fourths and then divide each fourth in half. So again, you'll notice I'm going from 0 to 3. I've got to think about how many eighths that would be. This would be 8/8, this would be 8/8, and this would be 8/8. So what would be 3/8? Well, 8 times 3 is 24, so this would be 24 eighths. And then from 3 to 5/8 would be 5 more eighths. So now I've got 3 5/8 is equal to 24/8 plus 5/8. So 24 plus 5 would be 29/8. Okay, let's try this one. Tenths are a little bit easier to add to, so this will be a little easier. Okay, so let's go ahead and try to get this number line drawn together, and then we're going to see if you can't do the rest of this by yourself. So I'm going to go from 0 to 5. I'm going to put in 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then we're going to divide these into tenths. So let's go ahead and go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then divide those into tenths. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's dividing into fifths, and then I'll divide those in half. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then divide them in half. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so we're going from 0 to 4. So 0 to 4. So from 0 to 1 would be 10 tenths, and then 10 more tenths, and 10 more tenths, and 10 more tenths. So I've got 10 tenths 4 times. So what would 10 times 4 be? Well, that would be 40. So I've got 40 tenths, and then from 4 to 4 tenths would be 4 more tenths. So I've got 40 tenths plus 4 tenths equals 44 tenths. Okay, let's go down and do E. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our number line started. So we're going to go from 0 to 5, just like we did last time. So 0, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this time I'm not going to go through here and break these down into 9 parts. I think we can do it without that this time. So let's go from 0 to 4. And let's think about from 0 to 1, how many ninths does it take to make a whole? Well, it takes 9 ninths. So I've got 9 ninths, 9 ninths, 9 ninths, and 9 ninths. I want you to pause the video and see if you can figure out how many ninths it is from 0 to 4, and then how many ninths it is from 4 to 7 ninths, and see if you can finish the rest of this problem by yourself. If you get stuck, you can just press play and see how far you can get without needing to press play. Okay, so hopefully you thought to yourself, well, 9 ninths 4 times would be 36 ninths. And then you would have to add 7 more ninths. So that's going to make my number sentence 4 7 ninths equals 36 ninths plus 7 ninths, and that would equal 43 ninths. Okay, so let's try a little bit of a different strategy. So you can see here that we're going to convert each mixed number to a fraction greater than 1. Show your work as an example. So this time, we're not using a number line. We're just using a number sentence. So let's look at what they did here. They start with their original fraction, and then here they just separate the whole number from the fraction. And if you'll notice from your number line, if I had 3 wholes, that means I had 4 fourths 3 times. Because every time I was going 4 fourths, 4 fourths, 4 fourths. So they just said 3 times 4 fourths. And then they said that's 12 fourths plus 3 fourths equals 15 fourths. So if we can understand this, this strategy will be a lot more efficient and we can do this a little bit quicker. Okay, so I've got 4 and 1/3. So that's the same thing as 4 plus 1/3. Okay, so now let's think about this 4 whole. So when we were on the number line, we were saying, okay, we've got 3/3 4 times. So that's going to be 4 times 3/3. And I still have to come back and add in that 1/3. So 4 times 3/3 would be 12 thirds plus 1/3 equals 13 thirds. Okay, let's try that one more time. So I've got 4 and 3/5 equals 4 plus 3/5. Now because I've got fifths here, that means I'm going to have 5/5 4 times for this whole number. So I've got 4 times 5/5 plus 3/5. So 4 times 5/5 would be 20/5 plus 3/5 equals 23/5. Okay, why don't you try to do D all by yourself? Go ahead and pause the video and see how much of this you can do all by yourself and then come back and we'll check together. Okay, so hopefully you try to do this one all by yourself. All right, so 4 and 6/8 means I have 4 wholes and then I have part of another, so I have 6/8. So that's going to be the same thing as 4 plus 6/8. Okay, for this whole number, I'm going to have 8/8 4 times. So that's going to be 4 times 8/8 plus 6/8. Okay, so from what I've learned from multiplying a whole number times a fraction is 4 times 8/8 is going to be 32/8 because 4 times 8 is 32 plus my 6/8, and that's going to give me 38/8. Okay, so now for this last part, we're going to do the same strategy, or we can choose whatever strategy we want, but you can see this is a little bitty box. So let's see if we can take a step out so we don't have to write so much. Okay, so this time instead of writing 2 plus 3/4, let's just start with 2 times 4/4 plus 3/4. So 2 times 4/4 would be 8/4 plus 3/4 equals 12/4. Okay, let's try another one. So I've got 2 and 2/5. So that's the same thing as 2 times 5/5 plus 2/5. So 2 times 5/5 is 10/5 plus 2/5 equals 12/5. If you feel like you can do this next one by yourself, go ahead and pause the video and do the rest by yourself. If not, you can work a couple more with me. Okay, so I've got 3 and 3/6. That is 3 times 6/6 plus 3/6. So 3 times 6/6 is 18 sixes plus 3/6 equals 21 sixes. Okay, so let's do 3 and 3/8. So I've got 3 times 8/8 plus 3/8. So 3 times 8/8 is 24/8 plus 3/8 equals 27/8. Okay, here's some tenths. I like to do tenths because they're easy. So we've got 3 times 10 tenths plus 1/10 equals 30 tenths plus 1/10 equals 31 tenths. So if you haven't stopped to try to do any of these by yourself, I want you to stop now and see if you can't do at least this next one all by yourself. Okay, so hopefully you paused the video and tried to do this one by yourself, and you said 4 times 8/8 plus 3/8. So 4 times 8/8 equals 32/8 plus 3/8, which equals 35/8. All right, now I've got 5 times 2/3, 5 times 3/3 plus 2/3. So 5 times 3 would be 15, so it's 15/3 plus 2/3 equals 17/3. 6 times 2/2 plus 1/2. So that would be 12/2 plus 1/2 equals 13/2. All right, last one. So we have 7 times 10/10 plus 3/10. This would be 70 tenths plus 3/10 equals 73 tenths. Okay, so as I'm working through these problems and I'm thinking about how you're going to do when you do these problems together, I'm thinking that the most difficult part you're probably going to have is going to be with some of these multiplication facts, because some of you are still struggling to master them. You may have to get out your agenda and look at those facts instead of sitting there and staring at 8 times 6 and not knowing what 8 times 6 is. So other than that, I don't think that you should have any trouble with this strategy. When you get ready to do your exit ticket, just make sure you come back and look at, for every whole number is equal to however many your units are. So if I'm doing 3, then that means I've got 3/8. As long as you can remember that, you'll be able to do this just fine.